Hi, and welcome to this session on what's new in Business Central, Power BI embedded reports and Power BI reporting. My name is Brian Nielsen. I'm a program manager in the Business Central team. In this release, in the next minor first, you will see that we have new Power BI reports enabling reporting on your Business Central data in Power BI. With Power BI, you will, of course, when you install apps, you get apps in Power BI, but we also embedded those reports within Business Central so that you can access them directly from within Business Central. It requires a bit of setup or configuration, very little, and there's learning content, docs content, describing how you set up, of course, but also each of the 76 reports that are in there in total, describing what the report is about and how you would usually navigate, filter, and use the reports. And later on in one of the next minors, we will provide more demo data so it's easier to demonstrate all the capabilities that Power BI is offering. Let's take a closer look before we look at the product. The Power BI apps, once you have installed them, will be embedded within Business Central, meaning that you can access them through role centers or actions in the Role Explorer and get a one page per report from the app. Later on, you'll be able to select specific visuals. Enrico and Blase has a separate session on the Power BI embed that you can also watch if you want to do your own embedding from Power BI. There's a piece of setup that you need to do. You need to pick the right apps for the right set of reports, and you do that from within BC. For the finance report, there is some setup for account categories, so you get all of your financial KPIs, right? But it's straightforward, and there's even a wizard to take you through it the first time you do it. Here we have the account categories that you need for your financial KPIs. There are some defaults, but if you're running your own chart of accounts, or if you have even added your own account categories, you might want to modify this. You can access the new Power BI reports through the role centers, where we have added them to, we have added the relevant report for the relevant role centers. If you need to find specific ones, or the first time where you just want to browse through all of it, you can access all 76 reports through the Role Explorer, either by searching Power BI or for the specific report. When you open a report and hit the question mark to get help, you will see that there is a mini help in the help pane. It will give you a brief explanation of what the report is about. And then in the release, when we release, we will take you through a separate page for each of the report describing what the report is about, what data is behind it, and what you can do with the filtering and what it's supposed to show you with your data. And then, of course, related or additional resources, we will link you to the new analytics content that we have provided in Docs. But let's take a look at how this looks like in Business Central. So here I have Business Central, and I want to take a look at the new Power BI reports. I can go to the Role Explorer. I can try and search for Power BI. It will give me all the results, and I can start scrolling down and pick one of them. It's a good place to start if you just want to browse through the different reports. Let's take the balance sheet. It is one of the reports in the Finance app, and it's embedded here in BC, connected to my data. We'll get to the connection in a few seconds. You can see I started my year in July. It ends in June. It has it all. I can click on this one or right-click it and say Show Next Level, which will expand the balance sheet and show me more data. If I need to dig into one of the items like finished goods for September, I can right-click it and drill through. And in this case, I would pick the balance sheet drill through. because it comes from the balance sheet, and I have my data here. Actually, this balance sheet drill through table is in a separate report. You can also access it directly if you want or if you need to. And of course, you have some filtering if you need to do some filtering to either troubleshoot, validate data, or any other thing. Let's go back to this one. So I have my balance sheet here. I found the report in the Role Explorer. If I really want to use it every day, I probably want to bookmark it, and then I will have it in my Role Center where I can use personalization to move it around in my navigation or in my nav pane. Let's close this one. Okay, and you can see that I put in the financial overview, which is a different report showing me KPIs. I can also, in these reports, in most of them, I can either expand it a bit, or there are some of the reports where, if it's meaningful, I can drill through to the underlying data. There are some filters that I can apply. In this year, when I'm looking at a financial overview, I probably want to only look at the current year. I'll scroll a bit down, 24. And then I will just see my data for the current year. And of course, it's Power BI, it will remember my setting. And let's take another look at one of the sales overview. The sales overview will give you KPIs for sales, some more details in some of them. And again, you have filtering over here. So let's look at the setup that you will go through. In order to set up these reports, and we will either notify you or if you see the blog post, we will take you through to Power BI App Source, where you will install the apps, just like any other apps in App Source. In Power BI, when you install apps, they will just, the first thing you will be asked about is where, in what workspace do you want to install it. You can either add them to an existing workspace if you want to, or you can create a new one like I have done here, Business Central, and then I will put all my apps in here. Currently, the apps are per company. So if I want to run Power BI on multiple Business Central companies, I can either create a separate workspace for each of the companies, or I could duplicate or reinstall the app. Like I need to install the app once for each company that I have in the current implementation. So I have my apps here. They're in a Business Central workspace. So in Business Central, the first time you select a Power BI report, or if you actually go to the Power BI chart in the Role Center, where we have Power BI chart, you will be prompted with a wizard that takes you through the setup. In this case, we'll just say yes, we want to go through it. The first thing you will have to select is how or what calendar do you want to use, the regular calendar, or your fiscal calendar that is based off of your accounting periods, or a weekly calendar, maybe if you're on retail or other. And I just need to select it. I can select weekdays, I can select time zone, and I can select, we have defaulted to 3 years of data, like for comparison year over year, and maybe having some historical data for the time series charts and analysis, but you can modify it if you want to. You can also select the holidays if you have any reports where that is relevant. And the last page we ask you for input is, and I filled it in because I've been there already, but if you're starting from a new company, this would be blank, and you would, for each one of them, each of the 7 apps, you would pick the workspace where you have put the app, select it, and then you would pick the relevant app. And then the pages will refer to the reports in that app. And the same you could go through inventory has 2 different apps that it needs if you want them. You don't have to fill in all of them at once. You can just start with finance, or you can start with sales just to see how it goes if you want to. And of course, it's a assisted setup or wizard, so you can run it after you've closed it and maybe add more apps as you go. The wizard will pick up your environment, some demo environment I have here, and the company name. And that will be inserted into the semantic model in Power BI so that it knows where to fetch the data. If you need to, and when you're copying stuff around in Power BI, or if you're setting it up manually, you can actually go to the semantic model in Power BI and then insert these parameters. But it's much easier to do it through the connector. So now I have set up my Power BI apps. I can find them in the Role Explorer. Hopefully the default will work for the financial reports. But if I need to, I can go into Power BI connector. And I can either go through the connector, because I can revisit my setup there. I can pick the general stuff, and then I can pick the specific for each of the apps. I can select the apps, and I can select some dates for the data that will be retrieved. For the finance report, I need to set up some account categories, so I need to do a proper mapping, because as you saw with the Power BI, the financial overview report, it produces some KPIs. Those KPIs are based on categories of or categorization of your data. And in order to have that correct, you need to set up a mapping. So on the left-hand side, this is what Power BI uses to calculate these different KPIs, quick ratio, cash ratio, and so forth. And you will just, you can either pick the default, or you can go in, let's say, I remember I did this, liquid asset. Maybe you have a category and you're just using the cash category. Maybe you have multiple cash categories, or maybe you have something that you would also consider liquid asset that you want to go into the KPIs for that, and you can just add it here. So these 2 elements, picking the apps that you installed and setting up the account categories for the finance report, is all you need to do to set it up. And then you're ready to start using Power BI reporting embedded in Business Central. So once you get started with Power BI reporting, you probably won't be able to stop, but there will be more. In one of the coming releases, minor releases, hopefully the second one, we will add demo data so that when you run on your own Business Central tenant or your own environment, you'll be able to spin up a company, add that demo data, and then start using the reports, where you will have a rich set of financial data, project data, fixed assets data, and then some of the other modules will come later, so that you can start demonstrating, exploring Power BI reporting without having to connect to your production environment. So much better demo data for Power BI reporting. We will extend the set of apps we have, the 7 apps we have, with an app for subscription billing. So that will, Power BI will be embedded as reporting there too. And we'll also get one for sustainability. We'll get one for fixed assets. And then more of the other modules will come in later versions. In this release, because we're still making a few changes to the apps, we keep it to ourselves, but from the next release, which means release 26, which is April, we will open source the report files, like the Power BI PBX files that you will be able to access from GitHub. That means that you can take the file and put a different color on it, add more data if you want, and if you have access to more data, you can combine it with other sources. You can create your own reports, and you can completely rearrange it the way you want. But you will have a starting point for each of these apps, which maybe bring you fast forward to have your own Power BI reporting. So with that, go and explore in the next minor release when it's out there, and thank you for watching this session.